once again to bring you some 49ers news and a fan interaction show. But before we get into all that, let me just go through all the formalities. If this is your first time here following us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you check that bell for notifications so that you know when we're going live. As well as check us out on Facebook and Instagram, which with this new platform, we can go live on Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So if you're following us on Facebook and you're here for that, welcome, welcome, welcome. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, like I said. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. That's at Nothing But Niners, all spelled out. And if you want to check us out on Snapchat and Twitter, that is at Nothing But Niners. You can definitely check that out as well. I'll put that up here, right here. It's at Nothing But Niners. You see it right there down there in the corner. So I got Tony here with me tonight. Tony, what's going on, man?
What's up, Nick? What's going on, faithful? Well, I'm a little worried. I'm on my way home from work right now. I've been thinking about this all day. I don't know what's going on, who's giving the false positive with these reports about Bosa's ankle and Jason Verrett's ankle. At first, it was kind of just like, something simple. Now they're making it to be like this big deal. As far as Jet McKinnon's knee, that is really concerning. And I told you guys previously when we had another show that once Lynch said something that he had soreness, I said something's not right with that knee. And it showed.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you talk about the Bosa injury, it came out as a mild, I think, I forget who it was that reported the mild sprain. But like he said, there's components that go along with that. You have to have 3 certain components to have a high ankle sprain. He doesn't have all 3 of those. But that is making him, I think it's making them a little more on the precautionary end. Bosa has had a really, really good camp going up against McGlinchey and Staley. So I'm not really too worried about him not playing the preseason, because even if it was a mild sprain, I still said on the show the other night that I still don't think I would have played him the entire preseason, because we don't need that time of nagging ankle injury. So to me, I'm taking it with a grain of salt right now. Hopefully he's healthy come week 1. I think, everybody, the report is that they're hoping for him to be healthy week 1. Do I think there's a little bit hiding behind it, as in he wants to play because Nick Bosa's like, oh, I feel good, I want to play. You heard Kyle Shanahan say that. So do I think there's a little bit behind it, like maybe he can play, but the team is just getting it to where maybe Tampa doesn't know that he's going to be there. You know what I mean? If he's staying out the whole preseason. Same thing with Jason Verrett. They thought that it was a little bit worse before they found out exactly what it was. Moved on. They saw that it's pretty much the same thing that Nick Bosa has. So they're going to keep him out for preseason as well. Do you think those two are just mainly precautionary reasons, or do you think that it's, a fairly significant injury to where that's just what they need to do?
As far as Bosa and Verrett, I think that's who you're talking about, right, Mike? Nick?
Yes.
All right. I think it's definitely precautionary. I think they saw what they needed to see from Bosa, competing with Staley, like you said. I think they saw enough. Now they want to get this kid back to where he was previously before his injury. And everyone, I'm sure, all the haters are going to be like, he's injury prone. We told you. Let's go after. We should have took this one. Yeah, well, those other 2 guys were both hurt too. So this was a freak accident. It's not like a tissue injury, a soft tissue injury, anything like that. He made a play. People rolled, and someone just landed on an ankle. Shit happens. It could happen to anybody. But I definitely think they will hold them 2 back, especially Verrett because of his history, more than Bosa. But they're definitely going to hold those 2 back as precautionary. And I think right now this is going to give them DeMontre Moore a huge opportunity to try to make a spot on this roster with Blair down, with Bosa down, with who's the other guy that's hurt? There's another guy.
Ronald Blair.
Blair, Armstead, and Bosa all out for this week. I'm really interested to see what DeMontre Moore is going to do with this opportunity. He's going to play a lot.
Yeah, I thought Armstead lined up today on the outside. Solomon and him lined up on the outsides. But no, it was
Yeah,
DeForest
they
Buckner.
just don't.
I'm sorry, DeForest Buckner and Solomon lined up as the defensive ends with Sheldon Day
Yes.
and damn, it's like on the tip of my tongue. And another defensive tackle lined up. I can't remember who it was. So there's a lot of people. So let me ask you this question, and then we'll get into it a little bit. I definitely agree with you on the whole situation where the fans are like, oh, like really, the fans are like, our season's over. Our season's over already. The most negative fans that I've seen with this whole thing. Yes, there was 11 practices. He's been hurt twice with a hamstring and a ankle sprain. Talking about Bosa. But you also got to remember, Bosa did not have a ton of injuries in college. He had one major injury. He had the ACL in high school, which was a major injury. Didn't have any for the first 3 years in his college years. Came out, then he had the oblique in his fourth year. Could have came back 5 or 6 weeks later after that. Decided not to because he was going into the NFL. Didn't want to hurt draft stock or take a chance of getting injured again. I don't blame him for that. When you're going to be a top pick, that's what you decide to do for your future. He came in here, he was tight. He hasn't played football in a year. That's probably why he got his hamstring. The other incident with the ankle, to me, is a fluke accident. You get a big-ass 300-pound guy that lands on you. Any of us would have snapped our ankle or did any of that. A lot of people, I see anything goes in here says Bosa won't last half a season. I don't agree with that. I think when he's playing, I think he'll be a lot better than what a lot of people think. He may get nicks and bangs and be injured to a point where he's not 100%, but I don't think that he will not play. He already said to Kyle Shanahan already, he wanted to go out there and play. And Kyle Shanahan's like, no, you're not doing it. To me, I don't hold all that against him. To me, that's not major injuries. That's not Jason Verrett major injuries like Jason Verrett has had over his career, right? So enough with the Bosa ordeal. I'm not worried about it. I think that a lot of it's precautionary right now, trying to get your number 2 overall first round pick healthy, completely ready to go for the season. And I think this strength and conditioning staff and training staff is not allowing these little nagging injuries to become nagging injuries. They're going to keep you out. They're going to hold you out. They're going to get you back to 100% health and then set you free. So the other thing was, let's talk about McKinnon. You talked about McKinnon and his knee soreness. Now, I'm not sure why he has this knee soreness because he's been running and working out and things like that. And he wasn't doing 11 on 11s, and I don't even think he was doing 7 on 7s. I think he was doing some 1-on-1s. He is getting that same shot that D Ford had for the knee tendonitis, which it could be knee tendonitis now in that knee. It could literally be that. You've heard D Ford say, oh, it's just a little bit of soreness. With not using it as much and doing things like that, and then putting a little bit of a brute on it, you're going to have soreness, right? And it's just a matter, I think that is a whole nother thing of precautionary. A lot of people think that McKinnon may never even take a snap as a 49er now. What are your thoughts?
It's starting to look that way, Nick. I got to be honest with you. And honestly, I kind of feel that the team was in question with his knee. I don't know the severity of his injury, whether it was a clean tear or if there was any type of damage to it, like nerve or whatever. If it was a whole knee tear, I know definitely the ACL, but for them to go out and jump on Coleman like the way they did, it kind of makes me think that they kind of knew that something was not right with that knee overall. And I believe it's next year, 2020, there's they have a get out option where it's minimal as a cap hit. But listen, it's very concerning. He's probably going to be IR because they can't put him back on a pup. And he's probably going to be a short-term IR candidate with an opportunity to come back after week 6, I believe. But, I mean, that's not what you want when you invest that type of money in McKinnon. So I kind of think maybe, you know what? I don't know if they could really cut him if he's hurt, but I think he's going to go on the IR. I think you're going to see Coleman, Breida, Mostert, that combination going forward into the season.
I don't disagree with you, but I also don't agree with you. So I don't think that he will be cut, obviously. I don't think that it's still too early to see if he'll start the IR. I know Kyle Shanahan said that is a possibility, but you're going to have about a week to 2 weeks to figure out how it's feeling after this shot. And the reason I say that Jerick McKinnon is still here is because of the fact that how much Kyle Shanahan praises him. They said, oh, well, if you put him on the IR and he doesn't play in the preseason, how are you going to feel about that? And he's like, I know what Jerick McKinnon can do in this offense. I've seen him through an entire camp pretty much because he got hurt the very last play of preseason last year before the regular season started. So he knows the playbook. He knows the things that are there. And I really don't think Kyle Shanahan – I think Kyle Shanahan still has 100% faith in this guy and is not going to cut him due to an injury that he sustained without being able to see what he does on the field. And that's why I'm a little bit skeptical to as him going on the IR for 6 weeks, I think is more of a possibility. To cut him like some fans think that he'll never take a snap as a 49er, I kind of think that's ridiculous because even if you can get out of the contract, you just paid this guy all this money to never see what he can even do in an actual NFL game on your team. So we bring back Jimmy Ward, who has been injury battled. Same thing with Richard Sherman wasn't the same last year. Adrian Colbert wasn't the same last year for injuries. Dante Pettis, obviously Dante Pettis is a draft pick, so I won't really go on him and Colbert too much. But Kyle Shanahan has a lot of, how can I say this? A lot of love for his players that he chooses. And we've seen that with guys that he brought in here and saw that they couldn't do things here with their team. Logan Paulson. We can even go to the latest, Niles Paul. There was no sense in keeping them guys around if they're not competing, right? Jerick McKinnon is going to compete with these running backs. One way or another, I think he's going to compete with these running backs. So can I see him possibly going on the IR? I kind of have to see how the next 2 weeks go with that injury and how he's feeling. But do I see that of more of a possibility than cutting him and him never taking a snap as a 49er?
No, I don't think he'll be cut this year. I think they honestly, if he's not ready in the next 2-3 weeks, they have to put him on the IR because now you're risking holding a spot just to say Jerick McKinnon is going to be on the active 50, well, the final 53 going into the season, and you're going to have to risk losing another player that could be a big part of this roster, whatever position group it is. But I just think that they have to stash him because clearly that knee is not right. He literally was on the field for one day doing workouts, and he had that type of problem. Something's not right with that knee.
No, I mean
I wouldn't even be surprised if they go in and like scope him to make sure everything's clean, like nothing's like, there's an issue inside that knee,
Well, they won't have to.
I wouldn't be surprised if they scope him.
They won't have to scope him unless they see something on an MRI. They're not just going to do a surgery and go in there and try to clean up something where they don't even know is in there. Obviously they'll do an MRI if they need to scope, then probably do it. But I don't think they're just going to go and scope. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I have a ton. Like I haven't used my shoulder right in almost a year, and I have in my second MRI exposed a lot of tendonitis because, and I think that's what this is. I really think that's what this is. He probably just wasn't. Yes, he was working out and lifting and doing things like that, but you're still not doing those type of things as cutting and the cutbacks and burst of speed and things like that. I think those kind of things will cause that. I've never had. I had a sprained ACL. So I never had a torn ACL, so I don't really know how a tear works in my knee. But I would think with my shoulder, it's kind of like the same ligaments. You know, I still get that pain lifting my arm above my shoulder, you know what I mean? And doing things, reaching and grabbing and gripping. Now, I'm not saying that they're the same type of injury because they're definitely not. But I could see it as some type of tendonitis in the knee that is bothering him that he's not used to. He's not used to that pain. And he says, oh, I'm sore. I got a lot of pain in my knee. They probably already did an MRI that we just don't know about to see what it looks like. And then that's why they're giving this same shot for tendonitis. Because they wouldn't just say, we're going to give him that shot and see if it helps without doing an MRI. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's really anything to clean up. I think it probably is just the lather of being sore because he's not using it the way that he used to, and it flaring up because he's not used to that, or it's pain that he's never felt before. So
this is kind of like the first time where I'm really like hearing about the full details of it. I mean, I read a little bit at work today, but I was really busy today, so I really wasn't active on Twitter or anything like that, like keeping up with the news. I don't know if you know this, but did he have any like swelling in the knee?
No, they didn't say there was any swelling. He literally the report just came out and said that he had some soreness in his knee. They were going to give him the PHP or whatever the shot was, the same thing D Ford got. And D Ford got his for tendonitis. I forget what the actual terms of it is. So, you know, and Eric Firpo says, if it's tendonitis, it can be serious too. You're absolutely right. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of football players that play with tendonitis in their joints and their knees and elbows and things like that throughout the league, because you're putting a lot of workload on those. There you go. Jerry Fresh, thank you. I just want to show this. It's called plasma-rich platelets. That's PRP, not PHP. So, Jerry, I appreciate that, buddy. I couldn't remember the actual abbreviation for that. So that's what they're giving them, is basically, you know, that type of shot for that tendonitis. So D Ford should be back, you know, within the next week or so. They said about 1 to 2 weeks on that, just staying off of it, taking, you know, the tendonitis or the inflammation down. But I didn't hear anything on swelling. It was just mainly soreness and, you know, just felt weird.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at this part, like Ronnie or Eric Firpo says, he says a lot of guessing on our part. And it really is. We really don't know. Excuse me.
I mean, pretty much the people that know are inside that building, and obviously we're not them. But I also think they're being really tight-lipped with certain things, as far as injuries go. But I mean, because you saw the report from Ian Rappaport saying that was just a light sprain to the ankle. Now all of a sudden, John Lynch is saying, yeah, well, you know, it's almost considered a high ankle sprain. Like, you know, who's bullshitting who here? You know what I'm saying? Are they trying to give a reason why they're not going to play him for the preseason? I don't know what the hell's going on, but.
Well, I mean, it all kind of goes into the whole game planning for the season, right? So if he does have an ankle sprain, right, and you feel that he's good to go, you've seen enough from him. You've seen how he battled out there. You've seen how good he was against the rush plus the pass. And then why start him? Like, to me, it's like, why start him? And if you want to go and say, you know, the initial report week 1, if he's not playing, obviously has to come out. But right now, you don't have to tell anybody anything. You can play devil's advocate and say, oh, yeah, well, it's close to a high ankle sprain. We're just keeping him out, and he may not play week 1. Because you know that not this week, but maybe next week, teams will start game planning, you know, going into week 3 of preseason for week 1 opponent. Yeah. So you could use that against it and say, okay, well, we're not sure if he's going to play week 1. So now do they go and game plan with a Bosa there or without a Bosa? You know what I mean? So to me, it's kind of, I feel like we're being bluffed a little bit. And I don't think the injury is as bad as it seems. And they're just being precautionary with it, and that's really what I think. So, Niner Empire 999 says Bosa and Verrett will be fine. They're sprains. Ronnie Burton says everybody will be fine. Let's just relax. So
I agree. I definitely think Bosa's going to be fine. It's just like, they're not giving you a straight signal. I don't think I don't think that it's like, oh my God, he's not playing. He's missing reps. He's missing this. He's missing that. No, his one job is to get after the pass run and get after the quarterback. He's a pass rusher. That's all he needs to do. He showed in camp versus Staley, and that's that. Would I like to see him, come out the first two series and show something versus another team? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would have loved to. But then, I'm also sitting here thinking about it like this, from a coaching aspect from when I coach, and you coach too. I always told my kids, if you're afraid to play this sport and you're playing hesitant, that's when you're going to get hurt. Clearly, that's what they're doing in training camp. They're not going all out. And now you're seeing an ankle sprain. You're seeing this. You're seeing that. Like me growing up playing football, you were either 110% in or you were not on the field. And that's the way I was taught.
I completely agree with that. But they take that. That's why a lot of these coaches hate training camp and preseason, because training camp preseason is a glorified practice. And you heard the question asked to Kyle Shanahan yesterday, I believe it was, would you be okay with no preseason games? And Kyle Shanahan said, absolutely. I'd be fine with 0 to 2. And the reason is you don't really need that much time to get these guys ready. Rookie minicamp, training camp, where you're not really doing any hitting or anything like that. And then regular training camp, to where I should have said rookie camp, then mini camp, then training camp. And then
OTAs and stuff.
Right, where you start putting in all these your walkthroughs and your installs. And then preseason, you come around, play one game, maybe two, to get your determination on your 53. Don't even play your starters for those 2 weeks, and play the guys that you think are on the bubble. And I really think that that's the way that it should be. Preseason is horrible. There's so many. It's not even, if you go and look at the injury report for the NFL right now, it's not just the 49ers that have a ton of guys injured. I mean, you look at guys that got injured in tonight's games. It's a brutal sport.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's a brutal sport. And like you said, when you're not going 100% is when people get hurt. The other day I posted something about Dre Greenlaw, and he was hitting with his shoulder and knocking people over. Now, while I like the physicality, and this is exactly what I said in my tweet, while I like the physicality, right? When I practice with younger kids or high school kids, when I was helping coach, when we would do our practices, we would do pretty much a thump and hold up, right? So show good form, make the stop, thump, and just hold up. Don't drive to the ground. I don't understand why we're not doing that. Instead, we're throwing shoulder blows to where we're throwing Madden hit sticks on players, and people are saying there's more of a chance to get hurt with regular tackling than there is with a hit stick type of hit where you're not wrapping and you're just throwing your shoulder at somebody. To me, I don't care what anybody says. I think a thump and a hold up is a lot more safer than running across the field and basically blindsiding, hitting somebody with your shoulder and showing that physicality. And you heard Kyle Shanahan got mad at that kind of stuff. He's like, we're getting too physical out there. He's like, because you can't hold these guys back. So I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I'm really interested to see Saturday night how their tackling is. That's going to be like a tell-all tale watching this game, seeing if they're missing tackles. You know what I'm saying?
And that was the reason
if they come out and start wrapping up and driving people into the ground, shit, take the pads off for the rest of the fucking preseason, and just go out in shells and do what you got to do. Rep, and that's that. Because now the team is on the same page in tackling.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing that bothered me the most about the Dre Greenlaw hit. It's not that I don't like the physicality. This team has had an issue with tackling for the last 3 years. Easy, the last 3 years. You see guys dipping their heads down, just throwing their shoulder, not wrapping, not showing fundamentals like bite the ball, wrap, roll, wrap and roll, and drive to the ground. And that was the thing that scared me the most about Dre Greenlaw doing that, is because here's a rookie coming in, and he's not tackling fundamentally. And I understand we're not tackling at training camp, but you're not showing the correct fundamentals and holding somebody up. Now you go into the season, and I see it. I seen it last year. I just watched Fred Warner. I just watched a game today. I watched which game was I watching? I was watching week 5. I believe it was week 5 after Kansas City against the Chargers last year. We had 3 missed tackles that led to big-ass plays there because people were just putting their eyes down and trying to hit with a shoulder. Now, the way you practice is the way you're going to play. So I'm kind of interested to see how tackling comes with preseason.
Yep.
So, guys, I'm going to open the show up tonight for some fans. So if you want to come on or call in, I'm going to put that number on here. So if you want to join, just send me a text at this number right here, the 1-628-888-3443. I'll send you the link. Looking to get some fans on tonight, talk about what your feelings are so far on training camp. I don't want to dwell on so much with Bosa and Verrett and the injuries because we just kind of went over those. But I want to hear what you guys are excited about, what you're nervous about, what your feel is going into this preseason week 1. Who should play? Who's going to get the most carries? Who are you excited to see? Those type of things. So I want you guys to come on and join myself and Tony tonight and do a little bit of talking. And, let's go over that. So if you want to join in on video, that's the number. You can also call in on that number if you want to just call in and talk, and we can go from there. So this is about you guys tonight, man. It's the fan interaction show, and I want to get you guys on here. So definitely want to get people on tonight. So
instead of talking about injuries, let's talk about a bright spot. I read today that as I was coming out of work, I quickly just went through my Twitter. I saw Travarius Moore had an interception on defense. Came across the field and made a play on the ball and picked it off. That's a bright spot. That's a very big bright spot because clearly we have a hole in the secondary at the free safety spot. Jimmy Ward's coming back, yes. Might not be ready for week 1. So maybe Travarius Moore steps up and gets an opportunity to start. Now, on the downside of that, I kind of think maybe Adrian Colbert has to, step his game up a little bit. Not a knock against him. I don't know, maybe if he's dealing with a little something on the side as far as an injury or, muscle tightness, but whatever. But I liked seeing the positive out of Travarius Moore. Also, there's a lot of positives as far as the offense. I read quickly maybe 5 touchdowns today from the offense. Garoppolo through to Selleck, Caden Smith, the rookie. I believe Trent Taylor. I even believe I could have swore I saw Hurd caught a touchdown. I'm not 100% sure, guys, because, listen, I was at work from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., but I'm hearing a lot of positive things. Nick's on the phone, talking to a caller, hopefully. So yeah, you guys got any questions? Comments? Send them away. Send your tweets in the chat. Whatever you want to do. Call in. Send a text. Come join us tonight. You good, Nick?
all right, guys, we got Dre on the line here. Call in. Dre, what's going on, man?
Man, what's up to the Indian fam? All of the Niner Empire. What's going on? Man, I'm optimistic, right? You know what I mean? We have a lot more talent than we've had in the last couple of years. But at the same time, getting the sports technology We hired sports technology guys, which were, one of like 4 or 5 teams in the NFL who actually has that department. We fired the whole damn, physical training staff, hired new staff, and it seems like, I don't want to say it, bro, but I gotta be real. It seems like we're almost repeating last year. When I first called and you answered the phone, I was saying, yesterday I went to work and then came back, got off around 8. And no, what time did I get off? I got off at 4 yesterday. Then tonight I get off at 8, and there's like, damn, we got, 2 or 3 more guys on the IR, and the most ones to stick out was T1, who, just had his knee scoped. So that's just precautionary cleanup, some of that dirty cartilage up in there. And then Ronald Blair, I think you said it was a hamstring or a quad. And it's, these are like little knick-knack things that's going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, if it was regular season, like guys would be playing through this. But damn, it just gives me an eerie feeling like, bro, is this going to be a repeat of last year, dude? You know what I'm saying? McKinnon came back. He was looking great. But of course, with some guys that, ACLs, MCL, meniscus, whatever the case may be, some guys heal up better. You know what I mean? And of course, with a guy like Jet, who comes out of the backfield, catches a lot of passes, he cuts off his knees a lot. You know what I'm saying? He's a lightning burst. He's a quick guy. So I was kind of expecting him to have some soreness. You know what I mean? But I know you said you didn't want to talk about it, bro, with the injuries, but I'm trying to be optimistic. But it's just like, damn, bro. I'm just starting to get a little nervous.
Yeah, well, nervousness is okay, and but
right.
Is it to the point where I think we need to flail off the walls or jump off a cliff? If there's no water below, I don't think it's there yet.
Yeah.
When
right.
You were saying something about the training staff and feeling like we're right back to where we started last year, and I think there's a difference this year. I think some of these injuries are injuries that people can play through, but they're being so strict on what they do. I think this training staff is doing its job. If you look back last year where Matt Breida had the nagging ankle injury, instead of sitting him and taking the precautionary aspect of it, they ended up letting him continue to play. It got worse. It got worse. And then it got to a point where he couldn't even play. He sat out for a couple weeks. So, I think this year, they're being very optimistic or very strict, I guess I could say, with the injuries that have occurred. Like, look at D Ford. D Ford's like, I could practice. I could go out there and play. But no, they're not doing it.
Get your ass down.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we need to step back off the ledge, take those 2 steps backwards and think about we're not going through the same process we went through last year. And it seems like the injuries –
that's true.
It seems like the injuries are piling up, but we're probably hearing more about these injuries because they're little injuries and the players not practicing.
Right.
And I think that's why we're hearing more about injuries right now. Because you think about it, we went through
bro. Because last year we weren't really hearing about the knick-knack injuries. It was just like Jimmy G and Jet, and it was like, oh shit. Because we made it through training camp pretty good, but I'm thinking a reason why that staff got fired is because a lot of this type of stuff probably wasn't reported last year. So I get what you're saying, bro, because it was not this bad in training camp last year. You know what I mean? But maybe it was little knickknacks in here and there, but they just weren't reported. You know what I mean? And so I guess I could see what you're talking about, bro. And also, the Steelers, have had guys. I mean, guys are getting carted off the field. You know what I mean? The Steelers, the Redskins, it's just some guys carted off the field. So you know what, bro? You're right. At least we can say, okay, hamstring, mild ankle sprain, a quad, getting your knee cleaned up. These are procedural things, but we're not getting nobody carried off the damn field. So I guess, when you look at it, bro, it's not too bad. And like you said, if this was regular season, this would be things like a guy, he's going to go in there, get his pain meds. They're going to shoot him up, and he's going to go play in that damn game.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I guess it's not too bad because best believe if this was, game time where we needed a few games to get into the playoffs or to win the division, this is stuff that guys just gonna tape it up and get out there. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
I could,
right, bro.
And I'm gonna answer you, and then Tony's gonna answer, and then I'll let you go. But I can guarantee that if it was season right now, that D4 would be out there playing, Nick Bosa would be out there playing. Jason Verrett, I'm not too sure about. I think he'd be suited up, but obviously Akello would probably be playing because there are other corners that can play. Kwan Williams is the only serious injury that I've heard of, and that was just a knee scope. So, other than that, nothing has been, knock on wood, nothing has been serious. Nothing has been serious, and I think they're just little bang-up injuries. You saw that what the hell was I going to say? Oh, you saw with Matt Breida this year, starting out.
Right.
You saw he had a torn pec. He could have played, but they decided not to play him and sit him.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's right, bro. Yeah, everything gonna work out, bro. I guess it's just kind of like, you were getting close to season and you get cold feet. But, especially with K1, my brother, when we were in high school, he had his knee scoped, and shit, he played 3 weeks later. You know what I mean? And it was just to clean up the cartilage around his meniscus since he had torn his meniscus previously. And this is high school kids, so these are grown men, you know what I'm saying? 3-4 weeks, K1 to be good. You know what I mean? So, yeah, bro, I'm happy I called in and to get, some insight, you know what I'm saying, to feel a little bit better about it, we're just going to stay optimistic. I know this season is going to be our breakout year. I don't give a damn what nobody says. It's going to be our breakout year. And the good thing about Solomon Thomas is, he's having a great camp, so we expect that to translate to gameplay. So even if Nicky B is, a little bit banged up, we know that we can have somebody solid like Solomon come in, and help our line out.
Yeah, definitely. So I appreciate the call in, Dre, man, and I'll catch you in the chat, man.
All right, bro.
All right, see you. Tony, what do you think? What do you think of what he was saying?
What's that, Nick? You broke up. I'm sorry.
No, I said, what do you think of what he was saying? He was a little worried about the injuries, excuse me, and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as every 49er fan should be worried of injuries. Over the last 2 years, we averaged probably anywhere between 20 and 22 by the end of season on the IR, injury reserve. So with that being said, every true Niner fan will naturally be nervous. But one thing I will say right now, if you look at this, if you compare 19 to 18 in the training camp, they're totally different injuries. 18, you had tissue injuries, you had tears, you had I think a break. And 19, we had Jimmy Ward's broken collarbone again. But you're seeing minor injuries. And the most important thing is that's very important here. It's early. It's still early. Week 1 is, we didn't even play our week 1 game yet. Okay? The severity of the injuries 19 to 18 are totally different. So in my opinion, I think the 19 staff is doing a lot better than the 18. Where the 18 cleared people to go back right away, like you guys said, you and Dre, with Breida. Perfect example, that guy should have been out for a couple weeks to heal up and recover. That's what they're doing now as far as with the Bosa and the Barretts. Why waste these guys and risk further damage, more significant damage, when you can say, who cares? It's a preseason. We know we got in you guys. We've been seeing you in the last 11 practices. Sit. All right? That's that. That's just my opinion on it. And if it was, let's say this Sunday was opening week or whatever, the first game of the season, I guarantee you everybody, minus maybe Richmond, Weston Richburg, and McKinnon would not be in uniform or active on the 53. Now, we have 2 significant injuries in the 19 season. Weston Richburg had a knee ACL tear, an ACL, I think an MCL, and a quad tear. Clearly, that's an issue. Before he had that tear, he was doing pretty decent with his pass blocking. After that, he did not have the ability to anchor. If you can't anchor, you can't pass block. And that's that. With Jerick McKinnon, he's a running back. He's a shifty running back. He's a fast running back. He's a guy who cuts on a dime. You're coming off an ACL. It's not like Jimmy Garoppolo, where he can wear a titanium brace. It's very light. He's got full maneuver. He could, there's no restriction on him. Not weight, nothing. He could come back faster than obviously McKinnon because of the stress demands on the knee compared to each other. It's favorable to Garoppolo rather than McKinnon. So you and Dre pretty much made up all, solid points. I agree with everything you guys are saying. I am happy with the progression of this training staff versus last year. As far as from top to bottom, the doctor, the nutritionist, all that stuff. I think Scott Peterson, who's overseeing I think his name is Ben Peterson, who's overseeing the whole team. And everyone's working together, which is huge.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with you. I really think that, the Niners fans right now are stepped back and they're like their toes over the edge. They're worried because Nick Bosa's hurt. Jason Verrett's hurt now and things like that. So hold on one second. I got a call coming in real quick, and we'll take this real quick. What's going on, man? This is Nick from Nothing But Niners. You're on live with Nothing But Niners. Who am I speaking to?
This is Willie Mayers, man.
Willie, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much, man. I was just hearing y'all just talking about what's going on, with these injuries and whatnot. My opinion is, man, I believe that these guys are gonna be fine. This was just, we had more than 18 guys on IR last year, and that's a whole lot of players, man. I believe John and Kyle have set a plan for bringing these new training staffs in to where if anybody gets hurt, whether it's small or major, we need to check it out immediately. I don't care if a guy got getting bit by ants all over his leg. They check it out. You know what I'm saying? So, that's how cautious we got to be, man, because, this is a big gift for us. This is year 3, you know what I'm saying? And, we need availability, like the starters as well as depth. But we can look on the bright side of this. Now we get to see what our depth is going to look like. Let's be real. These starters these starters not going to play, all preseason game. They may play one series and then that's it. So this is like, I know this is this is a typical stuff, man. Everybody get hurt when playing football. That's the sport. But we're just glad that these are major issues, and I believe that Kyle and them I believe they're smoke screening the injuries. I believe they're not as bad as what people think they are. Because, Kyle said that Jason Verrett and Bosa wanted to get back out there. So if they felt as if they wanted to get back out there, I don't believe it's a bit. I don't believe it's that bad. If it was like brutal pain, like he couldn't even walk on it, they wouldn't even ask that. That's just me. I don't know how tough, those guys are. I don't know their bodies or whatnot. But, if they wasn't able to get back out there, they wouldn't ask to stay out there. So, now we get to see our depth and see what we can look at, because we got to look forward toward the future too. We got to find players that's going to come out this preseason and perform, so we can, have them on a team and set this franchise up for the future as well. So I was just calling in to say what you think about that.
All right, Willie, I appreciate the call. We'll talk about it right now, and thanks for tuning in, man. And make sure you set that bell and notifications for all of our live videos. All right, Willie. All right, so he was just basically talking about what we were talking about. I don't know if you guys could hear him very well. I seen Tony trying to hear. I know Tony's got a lot of air in the background though with driving. So he was basically talking about he doesn't think that the injuries are as bad as people are making them seem. And if it was in season right now, that he thinks that they would go out and play. And that's kind of where I'm at. Tony, I'm not sure where you're at on that. What do you think of that?
Well, you're talking about preseason?
Yeah, just right now.
Are we talking about
just right now with what we have?
Right now, I don't think I would like to see. Honestly, I'm just dying to see the defensive line on the field. So I would love to see them play like a series or two, and that's it. It's a wrap. Get them off the field. It's done. I would love to see just them play together as a unit one time, because you got all this hype, all the investments we made. We finally addressed the huge need that we haven't had since Alden Smith, and we finally got it done. And all I just want to see it as a fan. That's thinking what me as a fan, as a owner / coach / general manager / doctor. They don't play. If you're nicked up a slight bit, you're sitting because you want to be safe. You don't want to cause future damage or make it more severe than what it already is. So I'm kind of again as a fan, I want to see it, but on the other aspect, I don't want to see because I don't want these guys gone for the year. I want to try to change a trend in the 49ers IR list and try to make it maybe one or two guys, and that's it. I don't want no 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 guys. That's ridiculous, in my personal opinion. I pretty much everyone could agree with that. But I just would like to see that unit play, but they're doing the right thing by holding everybody back.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think right now it's more so. I know it's more so right now precautionary. I think, it's not technically that high ankle sprain. Eric says high ankle sprain. No way he would play in a real game if it was this weekend. Obviously, if it was a high ankle sprain, that takes 6 to 8 weeks at least to come back from. I don't think it's that high ankle sprain. I think they're edging more of it as a high ankle sprain to just be precautionary, and I really think that's what this week is all about. So, like I said earlier, guys, let's not talk about the injuries. I want to hear what you guys are excited about. If you're not calling in or you're not texting in, and sorry if my head is down and looking away, it's just I'm looking at the text messages that you guys are sending. And then somebody, I'm not sure who it is, said, "What's up with the punter? Is he the real thing?" Texas 49er. That's who sent that message in.
Shit. Damn, what I've been reading, yeah, he is.
Yeah, so I mean, I've heard
someone.
Go ahead.
Someone clocked him his hang time at 5.6. That's insane.
Yeah, I think the highest airtime I had was 5.12 seconds. Could you imagine that?
That's insane.
And everybody that's been there, everybody that has been at camp, whether it be Croc or whether it be Hodge, JD, talking about the punter, he's been a real deal. Everybody that's been there. So, that's I'm kind of interested to see him in preseason, just to see how he punts, man, because we're gonna see him. That's a guy that we're gonna see. Luke Walsh says he's excited about how the young receivers and linebackers are doing. Eric Firpo says I'm excited about defense in general. Eduardo says excited about seeing Julian Taylor in Street. That's a good talking point right there, because with guys like DeForest Buckner moving to the outside for preseason right now, for in and out through preseason, this is going to open up some spots for a Julian Taylor or a Contavious Street on the outside. Julian Taylor obviously inside, but Contavious Street on the outside. So I want to see. I haven't really heard much about Taylor and Contavious Street in camp, so I'm excited to watch them.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with all the injuries, you're going to see a lot of those players playing. I know we picked up a defensive end today. I just don't know his name, but I knew he played for Miami, which Coach Eric came from. So it's interesting to see in the rotation. But I'm really interested to see the depth on this defensive line is really now with all these injuries, which I'm very happy about, because now you can see if we truly have the depth to go into the season, or maybe we need to make a couple moves, waiver wire claims, and add other people. Me personally, I think we're good. I'm really excited to see DeMontre Moore. I really am. I really think this guy woke up and is ready to take the next step in his life. I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see Contavious Street, Julian Taylor,
you're on
DJ Jones, everybody.
You're on that Mike train with DeMontre Moore, huh?
Listen, man, he has talent. I watched him at Texas A&M when he came out. I think he got too much money too fast. And I'm not going to go into full detail because I don't want to, because I know a little about it. So much money too fast, and he wasn't, making the proper decisions. But as everybody knows, congratulations to Montre. He just had a little, I believe, boy. And I kind of sense maybe he's changing his mindset, which is good. And hopefully we saw him in the AAF. He led the league in sacks. They played 8 games. I think he had 7.5 sacks. So I'm looking for him to see what he can do on the field at this level.
Yeah, I mean, I called him a camp body the first time, and then we released him, and then I guess we brought him back. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens there. A lot of people are excited about our punter, man. It says punter was picked in the 4th for a reason. You got Callie and Jason Long saying Crocodile Mitch is the next Ray guy. The Patriots also wanted Mitch Wisnowski, Allen says. Let's see. I think the biggest thing going into the season, Lucky World says, I think the biggest thing going into the season with our starters, because we have an early bye this year, which is good. If we have any setbacks, which I also think that early bye right now is really, really good. It's for right now. Going in, going into later in the season, I don't know how it's going to be with rehabbing injuries, but right now it's looking really, really good. The next question is, will they cut Beathard? What do you think about the quarterback situation?
I think I don't know. I mean, I'd love to have the 3 back again, Garoppolo, Beathard, Mullins. But, I mean, listen, I'm not saying Mullins played phenomenal, but he played good. He played very well. They gained yards. I understand they didn't gain points and touchdowns. I understand that. But the offense was producing yards with an undrafted free agent quarterback. I think Mullen gets the nod. If he decides to keep 2, it's going to be Garoppolo and Mullins. Because Mullins just performed. He performed on the highest level. In the NFL, he was a starting quarterback for the 49ers last year. Once Jimmy went down and once CJ went down. And he showed the stage wasn't too big for him. Does he have the most perfect arm strength? No. Is he the strongest arm? No. But guess what? All the reports I've been reading in the mini camp over 11 days, all been positive. He's finding open receivers. He's finding, he's moving the ball. When they do their scenarios, red zone scenarios, 2-minute drill, 1-minute drill, he's producing. And, this is a tough kid. He's a student of the game. He's got a high IQ. And I was listening to a podcast, and they said a story about him. He was playing, I think, Texas El Paso or one school. And he hurt his hand to the point where it's throwing him to the point where a bone was sticking out of his hand.
Yep. Yeah, I read that report. I saw that.
He went on the sideline. He said, push the damn bone back in, tape it up. I'm going back in.
Yeah, they gave him 7.
The next play he went in, allegedly, he threw a 32-yard touchdown pass. They didn't come back and win the game. At the time, they were down by 21, but he brought the team within striking range. That says a lot about a player. Okay, that does. I'm not saying he's an all-pro future quarterback. No, but that's someone that you want on your team. The ability to grasp the system so fast, faster than CJ, is a big plus, and he proved that he could do it on the NFL level. So, my personal opinion, depending on how this roster bows out, levels out as far as how many at each position group, I think Kyle would love to keep 3, but I think he's gonna have to make a decision and keep 2, and Mullins would be my guy.
Yeah, I mean, I have liked Nick Mullins since Southern Miss. So the kid's just a baller to me in my eyes. You know what I mean? He goes to college, he beats all of Brett Favre's records. He comes in as an undrafted guy. I was calling for him before last year once Jimmy went down. And I was probably the only one calling for him, and I got shitted on the entire, for the 3 or 4 weeks that CJ played. I kept calling for Nick and calling for Nick and calling for Nick. And everybody's like, you want to start a practice squad quarterback? You want to start a practice squad quarterback? How dumb can you be? Well, how did that work out? Nick Mullins came in. He won a couple games we should have won. More, fumbles cost us, turnovers cost us, just things like that. Nick Mullins has came back this year, and you don't hear a lot about CJ Beathard in camp this year. You don't hear a lot about CJ Beathard at all. To me, Nick Mullins has been the guy. It seems like Nick Mullins is getting a lot more reps. You could sit here and say that Mullins isn't getting all the reps, and him and CJ are splitting, as Kyle Shanahan has been saying. But I'm just hearing so many more reports on Nick Mullins doing this and Nick Mullins doing that. Now, he's thrown some interceptions in camp. Some of them aren't his fault, which all of them aren't, as always, on a quarterback. But obviously the quarterback takes the fall. The only thing that scares me, man, is the love that Kyle Shanahan has for CJ Beathard. That's the only thing that scares me. And, how loyal is Kyle Shanahan going to be to CJ Beathard? Is he going to be loyal because he likes CJ Beathard, or is he going to be loyal because he's going to pick the best guy for this team? And I'm hoping to see him pick the best guy for this team. The other thing that comes in details with that whole situation is contracts. Nick Mullins' contract is up this year. Are the Niners going to re-sign him? Or the Niners going to just cut ways with CJ Beathard and lose what they can, or try to trade him away? So, to me, it's Nick Mullins all the way. I would be surprised, really, really surprised if he's not the guy. But you heard Kyle Shanahan say it about Nick Mullins. He asked, why do you think Nick Mullins has gotten so much better? And he says, well, Nick Mullins had the chance to get those snaps. Last year, before he took over, he was playing safety as a safety guy in practice and being a safety on the opposite team for the practice squad. And he wasn't getting quarterback snaps. And then he took over and he started getting those snaps, and his game just continued to progress. His arm got stronger by working with the quarterback coach that him, Jimmy, and CJ all worked with this in this offseason. He said it may not look like a lot, but 4 yards on your throw is a lot. And that's approximately how much CJ Beathard has, or Nick Mullins has gained on his arm strength. And the players notice it. The coaches notice it. The fans may not notice it, but the coaches and player do. So, I just think I'd be surprised if CJ Beathard gets picked and not cut or traded. Let's see here. Reports Mullins improved arm strength working with Tom House. That was the coach's name. I just saw Luke Walsh put that in there. Sorry, guys. I'm going back through the comments because it just scrolls through here really, really fast. He says Nick knows Nick. No, I don't know Nick personally like that, Luke. Landon Belcher says, I personally think Mullins, but wouldn't be surprised if it's Beathard. And that's kind of what I just touched on. All right, so we got another question. I like Richie James. Do you think he will make the team? Tony, you want to answer this?
Say that again, Nick. I'm sorry, you broke up.
He said, I like Richie James. Do you think
I just heard
the message says, I like Richie James. Do you think he will make this team?
All right. Richie James is talented, but I think this team is going to have a really, really tough decision when it comes to the cuts at the wide receiver position. There could be a scenario where you're going to get a surprise cut, and then there's going to be scenarios where you're going to get cuts you pretty much knew. I don't want to make a prediction as far as who I think is going or coming until I see at least 1 or 2 games in the preseason. I want to see the rotation that Kyle's going to use. I want to see their productivity, because you got to remember something. These guys, minus Jordan Matthews, Deebo Samuel, and Hurd, all played with Nick Mullins and or CJ Beathard. So they have some type of rapport. They played last season, and I want to see if it picks up where they left off. as far as like, with Mullins and stuff like that. I'm really interested to see how they look after maybe week 2 going into week 3. You're going to see the rotation form, and you'll be able to tell who's like a lock, not a lock, but who's the stronger group of wide receivers versus who's the guys that are like on a bubble.
All right, so to answer this question, and I agree with some of the things that you said, but to answer this question in my words is I have no idea. And that's saying God's honest truth. These guys that are scoring some of these touchdowns are going up against guys like Dante Johnson. Guys that are putting on clinics at camp this year are going against guys like Greg Maben, Dante Johnson. I got to see this against other NFL talent that I know are half decent. Not a Dante Johnson, not a Greg Maben type of players. Next week will tell me a lot by hearing things in reports against Denver when we're playing next week, right?
Yes, we're playing next week.
Yeah, so is our joint practices with Denver. I'll feel a little bit better and kind of on a way of how to judge the 6 wide receivers or 7 wide receivers, whatever we decide to keep. I'll have a little bit of a better idea on how to judge that. But right now, I can't judge these guys going up against Dante Johnson. The videos I see, Dante Johnson is just completely out of place. Greg Maben is completely out of place. So I can't really see if it's the receiver or if it's just the DB sucks so bad that the receiver's getting open. So to be honest with you, I have absolutely no clue if Richie James makes this team right now.
I agree. And I have to see it. I mean, I know what you're saying as far as the reports for when we do our scrimmages with or inter-practice, whatever you want to call it, with Denver. But I got to, like, physically watch the game myself. I want to see, like, the route running, lining up in the right spots in the formations, which was a little bit of an issue last year. Those are things I'm going to be looking for. If when a quarterback releases the ball, is that wide receiver there, ready and in stride to make a play up the field? I know most of that is on the quarterback, but if the receiver is not there in that timing route, it could be the wide receiver's fault as well. So those are just things that I want to look at as far as – that's why I'd rather watch it than actually – because I'm so tired of reading reports. I want to see this shit already,
Well, you're going to see it Saturday night. I see people in here saying that, Maben and Johnson are doo-doo. I've been stuck on that Dookie for a long time. Jack Black says, Nick looking Planet of the Ape with that beard. Thanks. Crazy. Anyway, Niners trade a receiver or running back before cutdown day. What do you think?
I could definitely see a receiver. A running back, no, because you don't know the status of Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, I could see a receiver being traded. Do I know who it is? No. I'll tell you what. The only thing that I'm still holding on to Marquise Goodwin for right now is because of the speed over the top. I know Mike says he doesn't think he's going to make this roster, and man, I'm starting to look in that direction, as there is a possibility of Marquise Goodwin not making this roster. I'm not all the way there yet. I'm starting to look closer to that way, though, with the upcoming talent that we have. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. The whole receiver stuff is going to be really, really interesting to see who's cut, if there's any trades, how the trades go down, just things like that in general. So, and then all right, we'll take a couple more questions here, and then we'll get ready to hop off of here. We've been on here for an hour already. Ryan Keller says, who do you think could be a surprise cut right now?
Ooh, oh man, let's see. I don't know. I really don't know. Right now, who would be a surprise cut? How about this? Can we talk? Ask me that question after week 1.
After we what?
Because after week 1, after the first week
Of preseason or week 1? Week 1.
crazy.
Oh.
I want to see the rotations that they're using. I honestly think I don't think what's his name's making this roster. I don't think Malcolm Smith's going to make the roster. Well, like I said, I want to watch this team. I want to see them actually out in the field and playing versus someone else than themselves. I think, listen, if Travarius Moore is making this move and he's performing, I know the team loves Jimmy Ward, but you got to watch Adrian Colbert, man. He's got to step his game up. And I think the team might have to make a decision because now you have multiple players that play free safety. And like a perfect example, DJ Reed. DJ Reed can play free safety and slot corner and even outside corner. So you're not going to keep, Ward, Colbert, Adrian Colbert, and Travis play free safety. So there's going to be some decently named players that are going to be cut. You hear Kyle, week press conference in, press conference out saying we're going to be cutting starters. We're going to be cutting good players, and it's going to happen. And it hasn't happened in a real long time, and it's actually a good position to be in right now.
DJ Reed has been staying at outside corner mostly. He hasn't been doing anything else.
Well, I think he's playing. I think he's going to play the slot with Kawan out.
Yeah, that could be a thing too. So, all right. So let's see. So I've seen Colbert in here. Alan says Goodwin. Maybe we could get decent trade value for him. He also says Beathard. Wild Bill says Colbert. Tone Martinez says Goodwin is our number 1 receiver. No, Dante Pettis is right now the number 1 receiver probably, and he's not even playing well. And look, I love Marquise Goodwin. I said that you guys all know I've been a big Marquise Goodwin fan, but he's had a lot of passes thrown to him in team camp and hasn't come down with all of them. He has more misses than he does catches. So that's something you need to watch out for. Landon Belcher says Malcolm Smith, but I don't agree that would be a surprise cut. I think that's a good possibility. Let's see. The receivers who's not making catches will get cut. I will predict that no matter who it is. Yeah, well, definitely Marquise Goodwin. Dante Pettis is not making catches. He's dropping a lot of passes. The only guys that are really – and you know how hard I've been on Bourne, and Bourne's name has been brought up a lot over the last week. Actually, Kyle Shanahan was asked a question today or yesterday, I believe. It was either today or yesterday. Who has the strongest hands? And Kyle Shanahan, now let me phrase this. Kyle Shanahan said when he talks about strong hands, he means aggressive, meaning they go after the football and they pop it like a basketball, like you're popping on a basketball. Aggressive hands, meaning strong hands. He said Kendrick Bourne, Deebo Samuel, and Jalen Hurd have the most strongest hands on the team. So, surprise cut. Tone Martinez says Jordan Matthews.
I don't think he's that big of a surprise. If you're talking receivers, I think the biggest surprise cut would be Marquise Goodwin. With the contract that they gave Jordan Matthews, it was a bare minimum contract. I don't think he is a 100% lock. but I don't think he's a 100% cut. He's kind of teetering in the middle. Again, it all depends on the rotations, and it depends on a lot of things. Listen, Kyle Shanahan is a very disciplined head coach. He wants his receivers to know multiple positions and not screw around and not mess up and come out in a wrong formation. These are all things that are pet peeves for him. And there's been a couple guys that didn't know where they had to be in certain plays. And Kyle's brought that up and pretty much put their names out there. I'm not going to do that. But these are all things that he's going to be looking at. Okay? 3rd and 12 in the fourth quarter, you got one timeout left, and you're going 3 wide, and the guy lines up in the wrong spot. Now you got to burn a timeout. That's an issue. So you need to know where the hell you need to be, and you need to know your principles, your responsibilities, your route, and you need to know all this. You are in the pros, so I think Kyle's going to really hone in on that and figure out who prepared themselves, who's the most prepared. Who's the 5, 6, 7 prepared guys that I know I could trust week in and week out?
Yeah.
I don't think it's all 100% play on the field and performance, but I think it's also that too.
It's funny because if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have had Kendrick Bourne on the bubble of this team. And a lot of people had Trent Taylor on the bubble for this team. I don't think either one of them are going anywhere now. And
no, Trent Taylor's going to be this year.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Taylor has scored 2-3 touchdowns a day in the red zone. And the reason he's scoring them is because most of them are just quick separation, get over the line of the goal line and catch the pass. That's literally what they are. And that's his game. And, but to go and say, like me, I've changed my mind on Kendrick Bourne. I think he totally makes this team this year. And like I said, I've been big on Trent Taylor. But those two are probably the standout receivers in camp right now. And I want to see it done in preseason. And I'm hard on Bourne because this will be his 3rd year. So, I just don't want to see those, not that he makes a ton of them, but I don't want to see those mental mistakes that he has made in the past. You know where you got to be. You know what kind of competition you have. You stayed at the stadium all year, all off season. You were working your tail off. Now it's time to put that product on the field. And I won't hate him. I don't hate him now. I just didn't think he was as good as people made it seem. But he's definitely standing out in camp, and I give him his praise. And if he is better and makes this team, I'm going to root for him. But I think those two are definitely non-cuts right now. If one of those guys are cut, it'd be definitely a surprise cut for me.
I agree.
So Tone Martinez says Goodwin, Pettis, Bourne, Taylor, Samuel, Hurd, and James for him. That could be possible. Debo's definitely a lock. Somebody asked the question, what about Debo? Debo's definitely a lock. Jalen Hurd. So Eric Furpo says Bourne definitely making the team. I agree. I've been tough on Bourne too. Yeah, man, I've been really, really tough on Kendrick. I've been really, really tough on him. West Coast says Josh Garnett, a surprise cut? Question mark.
He's gone.
Think so?
I think so.
I think the only thing that saves him right now is whether Weston Richburg comes off the IR or not, off the PUP list. Because
unless an injury happens.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If Richburg doesn't come off the PUP and Ben Garland, who is another guard who's playing center. So if one of those guys are if Weston Richburg doesn't come off the PUP, I think Joshua Garnett is safe. If he does come off the PUP and in time for the start of the season, I think Joshua Garnett's gone. You there, Tony? Hello? Yeah, I got you now.
All right. I think he's really, really not in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's not a good spot, but I think because of depth at that position is what saves him right now with a center being out. Because we cut, if you don't remember, we cut Eric Magnuson. We released him. So I would have much rather kept Eric Magnuson on this roster than Joshua Garnett.
Yeah, but Eric Magnuson was hurt.
So is Garnett.
No, I know, but you got to understand something. Garnett has left a bad taste in Kyle's mouth and in John's mouth since they've been there. Because every year it's been something, and you could tell that they're not happy about that because he's not the type of player that, like, it seems like he wants to push himself, and try to fight through it right away. Oh, dislocated pinky. Oh, I got to have surgery. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
You're a damn offensive lineman. You buddy that shit up, tape it, and you get out. You get your butt on the field because you are no lock to make this roster.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's what I would do.
Not to bring up this guy's name, Richie Incognito, but he was on Hard Knocks the other night if you watched it, and he couldn't, like, his hands were taped, his fingers were taped so bad he couldn't move them. And, like, that's interesting. So, all right, we'll take a couple more here, surprise cuts, and then we'll hop off here. On Saturday, we're gonna find out who the backup is for Jimmy G. Slim Shady says. Tone Martinez says, if KB goes somewhere, we will regret it. I promise. West Coast says Caden Smith is his surprise cut. Here's a great question, and we'll end it on this question. How do you guys feel about Pettis not looking that great in camp? What's your opinion on that, Tony?
On Pettis?
Yeah.
I think I think Pettis falls into the category of not being a practice player and being a performer on the field. When he was drafted, it was the same thing. There was reports saying that he was struggling. He really didn't, light it up, if you will. And he came out in the field and he performed. I'm not making an excuse. I'm not saying acceptable. But some people just don't practice well and perform on game day. I mean, most of those reports are coming from our good friend Grant.
No, I got to disagree with you. I don't think all the I don't think all those negative comments are just coming from Grant Cohn.
Well, everything I'm reading is coming from Grant Cohn, but then there's other people like Cam Inman writing saying that how he had a 50-something yard touchdown pass from Garoppolo. He made catches over the middle, running immediate routes. But Cohen is the one that's saying he's not getting open. He's dropping balls, which, listen, he is dropping balls. That is an issue. But look at his last 5 games of the year with a backup quarterback. I mean, he pretty much was the go.
No, he was the go-to guy, and I agree with that. But I just think that if you're going to be a number 1 wide receiver in this league, you have to play like you practice. And there's right now I said the other night I was concerned about him because there's just too many drop passes. He's getting 5-6 targets and only catching 1 pass, dropping everything else. Like, that's not good at all.
We'll see. Kyle put him up. Everyone keeps talking positive about him.
So David Coy says, David Coy says, I think Pettis and Debo are going to ball out when the season starts, but like Eric Crocker said, they are dogging it in camp, and I don't like their lack of hustle. Even Croc, I remember Croc said that on our show. He said that they just don't look like they're hustling. They got balls going in and out of their hands. It's just I talked to Croc today, and Croc said, I asked him, he said Debo took a slant an end around to the house today, like 65 yards. And he said, I said, oh, Croc, how has Debo looked since last time you watched him? because you were saying that he wasn't getting separation. He's like, he's still not getting separation, but he's still making plays. So it's crazy. So, but that's pretty much all I got. I know you got to hop off here, Tony. And, we've been on for about an hour and 20 minutes now. I want to probably turn this into a podcast tonight as well. So Paxton Lynch was drafted by the Denver Broncos. Right now he's torching the Denver Broncos. He's a She-Hulk now. I think they're up 22-0, right? I don't know what the score is on that game. So
what's that?
The Seahawks in Denver. I don't know what the score is. Anybody can update me on the score for that. Kyler Murray looked really, really good tonight, man. He was like 6 for 6. Looked really, really good. And then whatchamacallit comes out and looks better than him. So, but yeah, guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, man. It's always fun to interact with you guys. Thanks for those who called in. We had Dre call in, Willie call in. We've had some texts from Text 49ers. It's 22-6 Seahawks, just so everybody knows. Niner Rick says we need smart receivers for Shanahan's offense, which is true. Defense ain't even tackling these guys. But guys, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button somewhere down there in the right-hand corner. And make sure you check us out on Facebook and Instagram, Nothing But Niners, all spelled out. Check us out on Twitter and Snapchat, Nothing But 9, number 9, ERS. You can also check us out on the World Wide Web, www.nothingbutniners.com. And that's pretty much all I got tonight, faithful. So thanks for joining in. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for texting in. And above all else, stay faithful. We out of here. Peace.